My stepmother always bragged about her perfect biological son, so I showed her the photos he'd been sending to my sister. Cordelia swept into our lives when I was 16, bringing her 22-year-old son Xander with her. From the moment she moved into our house, she made it crystal clear that he was the crown jewel, while my 15-year-old sister Luna and I were just leftover baggage from Dad's first marriage. Xander graduated summa cum laude, she'd announce at every family dinner, cutting her steak with surgical precision. Xander's starting his master's program in the fall. Xander would never leave wet towels on the bathroom floor like certain people. Her eyes would land on Luna and me with thinly veiled disgust, as if our mere existence was a personal affront to her perfect family vision. Meanwhile, Xander played the role of golden boy flawlessly. He'd help with dishes, compliment Cordelia's cooking, and make thoughtful conversation with Dad about current events. To everyone else, he was charming, intelligent, and destined for greatness. But I noticed things others didn't. How Luna stopped laughing at his jokes. How she'd find excuses to leave rooms when he entered. How she started wearing oversized hoodies and baggy jeans instead of her usual fitted clothes. When I asked what was wrong, she'd just mumble something about being tired and change the subject. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. I was looking for my phone charger when I spotted Luna's phone buzzing on her nightstand. She was in the shower, and normally I'd never invade her privacy, but something about the frequency of notifications felt wrong. The screen showed 17 unread messages from Z, with photo attachments. My stomach twisted as I unlocked her phone. We'd always shared passwords. What I found made me physically sick. Explicit photos, disgusting messages, months of harassment disguised as compliments. You're developing nicely. Don't tell your parents. They wouldn't understand. This stays between us, or I'll make sure everyone knows what a tease you are. My hands shook as I scrolled through the evidence. The earliest message was from 3 months ago, right after Cordelia's birthday party when Xander had offered to help Luna with her college prep. That evening, Cordelia was holding court at dinner, regaling us with Xander's latest achievements. His professor called him exceptional, she beamed, dabbing her mouth with a cloth napkin. Said he's never seen such analytical thinking in someone so young. We're so blessed to have such a brilliant, respectful son. Dad nodded along, clearly trying to bond with his new wife. Luna pushed food around her plate, avoiding eye contact with everyone. I pulled out Luna's phone, screenshots ready. Actually, Cordelia, I wanted to show you something about your brilliant, respectful son. Her face lit up like Christmas morning, expecting more praise for her precious child. Instead, I slid the phone across the table. These are the photos and messages Xander's been sending to my sister for 3 months. The silence was deafening. Cordelia's fork clattered to her plate as she picked up the phone. Her perfect composure cracked as she swiped through image after image, message after vile message. Dad leaned over to look, his face turning ashen. "What the hell is this?" he whispered. Just then, Xander strolled in from his evening jog, earbuds in, completely oblivious to the bomb that had just detonated. "Hey, family, what's for—" He stopped mid-sentence when he saw his mother clutching the phone, tears streaming down her face. "Mom? What's wrong?" Cordelia looked up at him, her world crumbling. But instead of the horror and shame I expected, something else flickered across her features. Recognition and fear. "Oh God," she breathed. "He said you'd grown out of it." The room went arctic cold. Dad's chair scraped against the floor as he stood, towering over Xander with a fury I'd never seen before. "You said he'd grown out of what?" Dad's voice was barely controlled rage. Xander's face went from confusion to panic in seconds. "Mom, don't—" "The therapist said it was just a phase," Cordelia continued, her voice breaking. "When he was 16, there was an incident with my friend's daughter. She was only 12, but you said you were getting help. You promised me it was over." Luna bolted from the table, but I caught her hand. She needed to hear this. We all did. "What kind of incident?" I demanded, my voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Cordelia's hands trembled as she set down the phone. Bethany found photos on her daughter's tablet, photos that Xander had convinced her to take. He was supposed to be tutoring her in math. Dad's face had gone from pale to purple. "You knew about this and you brought him into my house? With my daughters?" "He was seeing Dr. Morrison twice a week," Cordelia pleaded. "The report said he was making progress, that it was just adolescent boundary confusion that would resolve with maturity." Adolescent boundary confusion? Luna's voice cracked like a whip. She'd found her voice at the worst possible moment. "Is that what you call harassment? Grooming? Making me feel like I was going crazy?" Xander tried to step toward her, hands raised peacefully. "Luna, you don't understand. I was just trying to help you feel confident about your body. You're going to thank me someday when—" Dad's fist connected with Xander's jaw before he could finish the sentence. The sound was wet and final. Xander crashed into the china cabinet, sending my grandmother's wedding dishes exploding across the hardwood floor. "Don't you dare try to justify what you did to my daughter," Dad roared. Blood streamed from Xander's nose as he scrambled backwards. "It's not what you think. We were just talking. She was asking questions about relationships, and I was helping her understand." I pulled up one of the photos on Luna's phone and held it toward him. "This is helping. This disgusting picture you sent her with instructions on what to do with it." Cordelia gasped and covered her mouth with both hands. She hadn't seen that one yet. "There are 67 messages," I continued, my voice deadly calm, "ranging from inappropriate compliments to explicit demands to outright threats. And these photos," I gestured to the phone, "I'm pretty sure sending these to a minor is a felony." Xander's eyes darted between all of us, looking for an ally. Finding none, he shifted tactics. "This is all a misunderstanding. Luna, tell them how you flirted with me first. How you asked me questions about sex education. You were curious and I was just being a good big brother and Luna exploded. I never flirted with you. I never asked for any of this. You cornered me in the laundry room and told me I was developing into a beautiful woman. You said our parents wouldn't understand our special connection. You made me feel like I was the one doing something wrong. Her voice cracked on the last words, and seeing my strong, brilliant sister finally break sent me over the edge. I lunged at Xander, but Dad caught my arm. Call the police, he said quietly. Dad, no, Cordelia begged. Think about his future. He's about to start his master's program. One mistake shouldn't ruin his entire life. The audacity of it hit me like a physical blow. One mistake? Cordelia, you just admitted this happened before with another child. This isn't a mistake. It's a pattern. But he got treatment, she insisted. Dr. Morrison said, Dr. Morrison clearly failed. Dad cut her off. And so did you. You brought a predator into my home and put my children at risk. While they argued, I was already on my phone with 911. I need to report sexual harassment of a minor, I said clearly. And I have photographic evidence. The dispatcher took our information and said officers would be there within 10 minutes. During those 10 minutes, Xander tried everything: denial, minimization, blame shifting, and finally, when nothing else worked, threats. You have no idea what you're doing, he hissed at me while holding ice to his bleeding nose. My mother has connections in this town. Her law firm handles cases for half the police department. They'll believe me over some jealous stepsisters looking for attention. Actually, I said, pulling out my own phone, I've been recording this whole conversation, including the part where you just threatened us. His face went white. You can't do that. That's illegal. In this state, only one party needs to consent to recording. I consent. I smiled grimly. And now I have your confession on tape, plus your mother's admission that you've done this before. Cordelia slumped in her chair like a deflated balloon. Xander, please tell me these messages aren't real. Tell me this is some kind of misunderstanding. He looked at his mother, the woman who'd defended him through everything, who'd covered for him, who'd convinced herself his predatory behavior was just a phase. And I saw the exact moment he decided to throw her under the bus. You want the truth? He snarled. Fine. Yeah, I sent those messages. Yeah, I've been trying to educate Luna about sexuality because clearly no one else in this backwards family is going to. You people are so repressed you can't even discuss basic human biology without clutching your pearls. Luna made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. But this is all Mom's fault, Xander continued, pointing at Cordelia. She's the one who insisted we move in here so quickly. She's the one who pushed me to bond with my new sisters. She practically threw Luna at me during family movie nights, telling me to make sure she felt included. Cordelia's face crumpled. I never meant, didn't you though? Xander's voice turned poisonous. You were so desperate to have your perfect blended family that you ignored every red flag, just like you ignored what happened with Bethany's daughter. You convinced yourself I was cured because it was easier than dealing with the truth. The doorbell rang, followed by heavy knocking. Police, we received a report about harassment of a minor. Dad went to let them in while I kept my phone recording. 2 officers entered. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a younger male officer who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I'm Officer Rodriguez, the woman said. This is Officer Chen. We understand there's been an incident involving inappropriate contact with a minor. I handed her Luna's phone. My stepbrother has been sending sexually explicit photos and messages to my 15-year-old sister for 3 months. I have screenshots of everything. Officer Rodriguez took the phone and began scrolling through the evidence. Her expression grew progressively darker with each swipe. Sir, she said to Xander, I need you to step outside with Officer Chen while I finish reviewing this evidence. This is harassment, Xander protested. These girls are just trying to get attention because their parents got divorced and, Sir, Officer Chen's voice was firm. Outside. Now. As soon as Xander was gone, Officer Rodriguez turned to Luna with gentle eyes. Sweetheart, I know this is difficult, but I need to ask you some questions. Did this young man ever touch you inappropriately or try to meet you in person? Luna's voice was barely a whisper. He cornered me in the laundry room 3 weeks ago. He said he wanted to see if I looked like the photos he'd seen. He tried to lift up my shirt, but I ran away. My vision went red. Dad's jaw clenched so hard I could hear his teeth grinding. Officer Rodriguez made notes. Did you tell anyone about this incident? I tried to tell Cordelia, but she said Xander was just being friendly, and I was misinterpreting brotherly affection. Officer Rodriguez looked at Cordelia with disgust. Ma'am, when a child reports inappropriate behavior, the correct response is to investigate, not dismiss their concerns. Cordelia was sobbing now. I thought she was just having trouble adjusting to the new family dynamic. Xander seemed so normal, so helpful around the house. Predators often present as charming and helpful, Officer Rodriguez explained coldly. That's how they gain access to victims and maintain their cover. She continued taking Luna's statement, while Officer Chen interviewed Xander outside. 20 minutes later, Chen returned with handcuffs. Sir, you're under arrest for harassment of a minor and distribution of obscene material to a child. You have the right to remain silent. As they read Xander his rights, Cordelia fell apart completely. This will destroy him, she wailed. His whole future, his career, everything we worked for. What about Luna's future? I snapped. What about the trauma he caused my sister? What about the other girls he might hurt if we don't stop him now? Officer Rodriguez finished documenting the evidence and looked up from Luna's phone. Ma'am, she said to Cordelia, your son sent 67 inappropriate messages to a minor over a 3-month period. Some of these photos would be considered pornographic. In addition, there's evidence of attempted physical assault. This isn't a youthful indiscretion. This is predatory behavior. As they led Xander away in handcuffs, he turned back to scream at us. "You'll regret this. My mother's firm will destroy you in court. I'll claim you set me up, that you created fake messages. No one will believe a word any of you say." Officer Rodriguez paused. "Sir, that sounds like witness intimidation, which is another felony. Would you like me to add that to your charges?" Xander finally shut up. After the police left, our house felt like a crime scene. Cordelia sat at the kitchen table, staring at the broken china scattered across the floor. "I need to call his lawyer," she said dully. "No," Dad said firmly. "You need to pack your things and leave." Cordelia looked up in shock. "What?" "You heard me. Pack your things and get out of my house. Tonight." "But we're married," she protested. "You can't just watch me." Dad's voice was ice cold. "You brought a sexual predator into my home and endangered my children. When my daughter tried to tell you what was happening, you dismissed her concerns and protected your son instead. You chose him over Luna's safety." "I didn't know," Cordelia whispered. "You didn't want to know," I corrected. "There's a difference." Dad continued ruthlessly. "I'll be filing for divorce tomorrow morning. I'll be requesting a restraining order to keep both you and your son away from my children. And if you try to contact Luna or pressure her to change her story, I'll make sure the prosecutor knows about witness intimidation." Cordelia's face went ashen. "You can't take everything. I have rights. I put money into this house, into our life together. Sue me," Dad said simply. "We'll let a judge decide what your silence was worth." She stumbled upstairs to pack while Luna and I sat in the living room, processing everything that had just happened. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner," Luna whispered. I pulled her into a hug. "You have nothing to apologize for. He manipulated you into keeping quiet. That's what predators do." "I thought maybe I was overreacting," she continued. "He made it seem so normal, like this was just how older guys showed interest in girls they cared about. Nothing about what he did was normal or okay," I said firmly. "And anyone who tries to convince you otherwise is lying." Dad joined us on the couch, looking older than his 45 years. "I'm so sorry," he said to Luna. "I should have seen what was happening. I should have protected you better." "How could you have known?" Luna asked. "I didn't even tell you. Because I was so focused on making Cordelia happy and blending our families that I stopped paying attention to what mattered most, your safety and well-being." Over the next hour, Cordelia made multiple trips to her car with suitcases and boxes. She tried several times to approach Luna with tearful apologies, but Dad blocked her each time. "Don't," he said firmly. "You've done enough damage." At one point, Cordelia's phone rang. After a brief conversation, she hung up with a stricken expression. "That was my senior partner," she said quietly. "Someone sent the police report to our office. I'm being placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into my failure to report suspected child abuse." I felt a flicker of satisfaction. Actions had consequences, even for high-powered attorneys who thought they were above the law. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you prioritized your son's reputation over my sister's safety," I said coldly. Cordelia looked at me with something like hatred. "You destroyed our family." "No," Luna spoke up, her voice stronger than it had been all evening. "Xander destroyed it when he decided to abuse his position as my stepbrother. You destroyed it when you chose to protect him instead of me. We just refused to keep your secrets anymore." As Cordelia loaded her final box into her car, she turned back to Dad one last time. "You'll never find anyone who loves you like I did," she said bitterly. Dad's response was swift and brutal. "I never want to find someone who loves me the way you do, with conditions and blind spots and willful ignorance when the truth becomes inconvenient." After she drove away, the three of us sat in the wreckage of our dining room, surrounded by broken dishes and shattered illusions. "What happens now?" Luna asked. "Now we heal," Dad said simply, "and we make sure Xander faces consequences for what he did." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal proceedings. Xander's lawyer tried every defense in the book. Luna was a troubled teen acting out. She'd fabricated the messages for attention. She'd seduced his innocent client. None of it stuck. The evidence was overwhelming. 67 messages over 3 months, multiple explicit photos, and Luna's detailed testimony about the laundry room incident. The prosecutor also subpoenaed records from Dr. Morrison about Xander's previous treatment, which revealed that the therapist had actually recommended against unsupervised contact with minors. Cordelia had ignored that recommendation too. During the preliminary hearing, I watched Xander's carefully constructed persona crumble under cross-examination. Without his mother running interference, he was just another creepy predator who thought charm and privilege would protect him forever. The prosecutor was a woman named Alex Novak, who specialized in crimes against children. She was methodical, thorough, and utterly relentless. "Mr. Xander, you testified that you were merely trying to provide educational information to the victim about human sexuality. Is that correct?" "Yes, that's right." "And in your expert opinion, what educational value was provided by this photograph?" She held up a printed copy of one of Xander's more explicit images. Xander's face went red. That was taken out of context." "What context makes sending pornographic images to a 15-year-old appropriate?" "I never said it was pornographic. Would you describe this image as educational material you might find in a health textbook?" "Well, no, but would you show this image to your mother?" "That's not fair. Would you email this image to your professors as an example of your educational outreach?" "You're twisting my words. I'm asking simple questions about your own actions, Mr. Xander. If these images and messages were truly educational in nature, why did you repeatedly tell the victim to keep them secret from her parents?" The defense lawyer objected, but the damage was done. Xander had no good answers because there were no good answers. What he'd done was indefensible. The most devastating moment came when they played the recording I'd made during that first confrontation. Hearing Xander's voice again, arrogant, manipulative, threatening, made Luna flinch, but she stayed strong. He manipulated me into thinking I was the problem, she testified. He said I was too immature to understand what real affection looked like. He said our parents wouldn't understand our special connection because they were old-fashioned about sexuality. How did his messages make you feel? Ms. Novak asked gently, confused at first, then scared, then disgusted. Luna's voice was steady, but I could see her hands shaking. I started avoiding family gatherings because I was afraid he'd cornered me again. I stopped wearing normal clothes because I thought maybe I was sending the wrong signal somehow. Did you ever encourage or request these messages and images? No, never. I just wanted him to leave me alone, but he said ignoring him would hurt his feelings and cause problems in our family. When Cordelia was called as a witness, she tried to minimize her knowledge of Xander's past behavior. Ms. Novak destroyed that fiction quickly. Mrs. Patterson, you stated that your son received therapy for boundary issues when he was 16. What were those boundary issues? He had some confusion about appropriate relationships with younger children. Specifically, he sexually harassed a 12-year-old girl and convinced her to take explicit photographs, correct? The therapist said it was a phase. Did Dr. Morrison recommend that your son avoid unsupervised contact with minors? Cordelia's silence stretched for nearly a minute. Mrs. Patterson, I'll ask again. Did Dr. Morrison recommend that your son avoid unsupervised contact with minors? Yes, she whispered. Yet you moved into a house with 2 teenage girls and allowed your son extensive unsupervised access to them, correct? I thought he was better. You hoped he was better, but you never verified his progress with Dr. Morrison, did you? No. You never implemented any safeguards to protect the children in your new household, did you? No. And when one of those children tried to report inappropriate behavior, you dismissed her concerns without investigation, correct? I misunderstood the situation. You chose to protect your son's reputation over a child's safety. That's not. Cordelia started to protest, but her lawyer advised her to stop talking. The trial lasted 3 days. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Xander was sentenced to 3 years in prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation and mandatory registration as a sex offender. His master's program expelled him. His future in academia was over. Cordelia's law firm fired her after their internal investigation revealed that she'd failed to report suspected child abuse, which violated both state law and bar ethics rules. Her law license was suspended for 2 years. During the sentencing hearing, Luna read a victim impact statement that brought the entire courtroom to tears. Xander stole my sense of safety in my own home, she said, looking directly at him. He made me doubt my own perceptions and blame myself for his actions. He turned what should have been a normal family situation into a nightmare of manipulation and fear. She paused, gathering strength. But he didn't break me. His mother's willful blindness didn't silence me, and their attempts to discredit me only made me more determined to speak the truth. Luna looked over at me and Dad, sitting in the front row. I'm lucky to have family members who believed me, supported me, and refused to let this be swept under the rug. Not every victim has that support system, but every victim deserves justice, and every predator deserves consequences. She turned back to Xander. I hope you get the help you need in prison. But more than that, I hope you never have the opportunity to hurt another child the way you hurt me. After the trial, life slowly returned to something resembling normal. Luna started seeing a therapist who specialized in trauma recovery. She returned to her old clothes, her old confidence, her old laugh. Dad and I started family therapy too, working through the guilt and confusion of having lived with a predator without recognizing the signs. The therapist helped us understand that sophisticated manipulators are skilled at hiding their true nature, especially from the adults who might intervene. 6 months after Xander's sentencing, Luna came to me with a proposal. I want to start a support group for teens who've been sexually harassed by family members, she said. There's nothing like that in our area, and I keep thinking about how isolated I felt before you found those messages. That's an amazing idea, I said. How can I help? Would you co-facilitate with me? I think having siblings involved might help other families understand how to support each other better. We started the group with 4 participants. Within a year, we had over 20 regular attendees and a waiting list. Luna's courage in speaking publicly about her experience inspired other victims to come forward. 2 years after Xander's conviction, I was contacted by a detective in another state. 3 more victims had come forward, all teenage girls who'd been groomed and harassed by Xander during his undergraduate years. My recording and Luna's testimony helped prosecutors build cases against him for those crimes as well. Xander pled guilty to avoid additional trial time, adding another 4 years to his sentence. Cordelia never contacted us again. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd moved to another state and taken a job as a paralegal under her maiden name. She'd tried to reinvent herself, but her reputation followed her. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. On Luna's 18th birthday, she got a tattoo on her wrist. Survivor. Not victim, not broken. Survivor. It reminds me that I have power, she explained. He tried to take that away from me, but he failed. That night, as we celebrated with her favorite chocolate cake, Luna made a toast. To family members who listen when we speak up, she said, raising her glass of sparkling cider. To sisters who invade our privacy for all the right reasons, and to justice, even when it's delayed. I raised my own glass. To little sisters who find their voices and use them to protect other people. Dad added, to choosing truth over comfort, always. As we clinked glasses, I realized that Cordelia had been wrong about one thing. Xander's crimes hadn't destroyed our family. They'd made us stronger. We'd learned that love without truth is worthless, that protection requires vigilance, and that breaking silence is sometimes the most loving thing you can do. The perfect family Cordelia had envisioned never existed, but the real family we'd become, scarred, tested, but unbreakably honest with each other, was something far more valuable. Luna started college the following fall, majoring in social work with a focus on trauma recovery. During her orientation week, she helped 2 freshmen report harassment incidents to campus security. "Once you know what the warning signs look like," she told me during our weekly phone call, "you can't unsee them, and you can't stay silent when someone else is in danger." That Christmas, we decorated our tree with ornaments that had special meaning, a small phone charm to represent the courage to speak up, a puzzle piece for family bonds that had been broken and reformed stronger, and a star at the top for the light that emerges when truth finally conquers darkness. We never heard from Xander again. I assume he's still in prison, learning that actions have consequences, and that charm only works on people who don't know your true nature. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks about Luna and the future he stole from himself, whether he understands that his crimes didn't just hurt one 15-year-old girl, they destroyed multiple lives, including his own. But mostly, I don't think about him at all, because predators thrive on attention and fear, and he deserves neither. Instead, I think about the 23 kids in our support group who found their voices, about the parents who learned to listen without judgment, about the siblings who discovered that love means protection, not silence. I think about Luna, now 21, counseling other survivors and refusing to let anyone convince her that abuse is normal or that speaking up is disloyal. And I think about Dad, who learned that being a good parent sometimes means destroying the family you thought you wanted in order to protect the children who are actually yours. We're not the family Cordelia dreamed of creating. We're something better. A family that chooses truth over comfort, safety over reputation, and justice over keeping secrets. And that's something worth celebrating. My mother-in-law said, "You'll never be able to afford our lifestyle," until we bought the lake house next to theirs for cash. That was 3 months ago. Since then, Delilah has been watching our every move through her kitchen window with binoculars. Her husband Preston barely acknowledges us, but Delilah? She's cataloging everything we do. When we moved in, she asked what my husband did for work. "Tech consulting," Rowan said vaguely. She pressed for details about which company, what position, how much he made. He smiled and changed the subject. That's when the comments started. "Nice boat. Must be a rental. Your landscaper charges too much. We know cheaper ones. That watch looks expensive. Is it real or one of those convincing fakes?" I ignored it all. We'd earned this house. Rowan's startup had just gone public after 12 years of 80-hour weeks. We'd lived in a 600-square-foot apartment, saving every penny while Delilah sent us $25 gift cards to discount stores for Christmas. Her daughter, Rowan's sister Paige, would post photos of family vacations to Europe that we were never invited to. Delilah's captions always mentioned how blessed and fortunate they were. Last week, Delilah hosted her annual summer party, the one she'd never invited us to in 15 years. This year, she hand-delivered our invitation. "Since you're neighbors now," she said, her smile tight and forced. The party was exactly what I expected. Delilah's country club friends, Preston's business partners, and Paige showing off her new engagement ring. "Worth more than your house," Paige whispered to me while we stood by the appetizer table. I smiled and sipped my wine. Then Delilah made an announcement. She'd been waiting for the right moment to share that Preston was buying the company that owned the entire marina. "Big investment," she said proudly. "Going to transform the whole area into luxury." Everyone applauded. She looked directly at me. "Some of us have the capital for real ventures, not just pretty houses." That night, I told Rowan what happened. He got quiet. That dangerous kind of quiet. The next morning, he made 3 phone calls. Yesterday, Delilah knocked on our door at 7 a.m. Her face was pale, makeup free for the first time I'd ever seen. "Did Rowan buy the marina?" she asked, her voice shaking. I didn't answer. "Preston's offer was rejected," she continued. "The owner said someone paid double in cash yesterday afternoon. Was it Rowan?" I told her I didn't know what she was talking about. She left without another word, practically running back to her house. This morning I saw moving trucks at their house. Delilah was standing in the driveway crying while Preston loaded boxes into their Mercedes. I walked over with coffee. "Everything okay?" I asked innocently. She looked at me with something between pure rage and complete desperation. "Preston's company had a major investor pull out overnight. We're bankrupt. We have to sell the house immediately." She paused, studying my face. "It was Rowan, wasn't it? He's the investor who pulled out." Before I could respond, Rowan appeared beside me. He handed Delilah a thick envelope. "Our offer on your property. All cash, as is. You have 48 hours to respond." Delilah's hands shook violently as she opened it and saw the number. It was exactly half what they'd paid for the house 8 years ago. She looked up at Rowan with tears streaming down her face. "This is robbery. You know what we paid." "Market value," Rowan said calmly. "Your realtor can confirm. Waterfront properties in distressed sales go for 40 to 60% below market. We're being generous." Preston appeared at her shoulder, his face gray. "We need to talk inside." "You have 47 hours now," Rowan said, checking his watch. He took my hand and we walked back to our house. Through our kitchen window, I watched them argue. Delilah was screaming, gesturing wildly. Preston kept running his hands through his hair. Their perfect marriage, the one they'd displayed like a trophy for decades, was cracking in real time. "You feel bad?" Rowan asked, pouring himself coffee. "No," I said honestly. "Should I?" He smiled. That same smile he'd given me 15 years ago when Delilah had told him I wasn't good enough for their family. When she'd suggested he date someone more appropriate, someone from their social circle, someone who understood their lifestyle. I'd been a barista when we met, working 3 jobs to pay off student loans. Rowan would come in every morning, order the same drink, and leave a $20 tip. After 2 months, He finally asked me out. When he told his family, Delilah cried. Actual tears. She'd begged him not to throw his life away on someone so beneath him. We eloped 3 months later. Delilah didn't speak to us for a year. When she finally did, it was to inform us that we weren't invited to Paige's wedding. Too small, she'd said. Intimate family only. The Instagram post showed 300 guests. My phone buzzed. A text from Paige. What did you do to my parents? I didn't respond. Another text. This is so typical of you. Always jealous. Always trying to tear our family apart. I blocked her number. Rowan sat beside me. The marina closes the sale in 3 days. I'm planning some renovations. What kind? The kind that requires rezoning. No more private docks. Public access only. I looked at him. Their boat? We'll need to find a new home. Preston's yacht was his pride. A 52-foot Sunseeker he'd named after Delilah. He spent every weekend on it, hosting his business partners, closing deals. It was docked at the marina Rowan now owned. That's cold, I said. They taught me everything I know about family values. The doorbell rang at 6:00 p.m. Delilah stood there alone. Her makeup was reapplied but couldn't hide the puffiness around her eyes. Can we talk? She asked, woman to woman. I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, taking in every detail of our home, the custom furniture, the original art, the view she'd spent 8 years enjoying, soon to be ours from 2 properties. Beautiful place, she said quietly. Thank you. I was wrong about you. I waited. When Rowan first brought you home, I thought you were after his money, his potential. She sat down without being invited. I'd spent my whole life teaching him to be careful, to protect himself. And then here you were, this girl with nothing, and he was throwing everything away for you. He didn't throw anything away. I know that now. She looked at me. He built an empire, and you stood beside him through all of it. In a 600-square-foot apartment. While we were taking vacations, she nodded. While we were spending money we didn't actually have. I sat across from her. Preston's company, built on leverage, always has been. We looked successful because we spent like we were successful. The house, the cars, the parties, it was all finance. We're $4 million in debt. The investor who pulled out was the only thing keeping us afloat. When they withdrew, everything collapsed. She met my eyes. It was Rowan, wasn't it? He was the investor? I didn't answer. She laughed bitterly. Of course it was. Preston pitched him 6 months ago. Some new development project. Rowan seemed interested, asked all the right questions. Preston thought he'd finally impressed his brother-in-law. She paused. He was gathering information, wasn't he? Learning exactly how to destroy us. I wouldn't put it that way. How would you put it? Strategic withdrawal based on poor investment fundamentals. She actually smiled. You've learned the language. I've had good teachers. Preston doesn't know yet that it was Rowan. He thinks it's just bad luck, bad timing. She leaned forward. But I knew, the moment it happened, the way you looked at me at the party, the way Rowan went quiet when you told him what I said. What do you want, Delilah? To apologize. I waited. For 15 years of treating you like you weren't good enough, for excluding you, for those pathetic gift cards while we vacationed in Tuscany. Her voice cracked. For telling my son he was making a mistake marrying you, for making you feel like you didn't belong in our family. Why now? Because I finally understand what I was looking at. She gestured around the room. This isn't luck. This isn't inheritance money. You two built this together while we were busy pretending to be something we weren't. You want me to convince Rowan to back off? No. She shook her head. I want to accept your offer for the house, and I want to do it with whatever dignity I have left. I studied her face. The desperation was real, but so was something else. Respect, maybe, or resignation. The offer stands, I said. I know it's below market value. It's fair for a distressed sale. And the marina? That's Rowan's business. She stood. Will you tell me something honestly? Maybe. Did you plan this? Did you and Rowan talk about revenge? No, I said truthfully. We talked about building a life we wanted. If that life happened to be next door to yours, if Rowan's business decisions happened to intersect with Preston's, that's just coincidence. You're a good liar. I learned from the best. She walked to the door, then turned. Paige is getting married in October. Small ceremony, intimate family only. She paused. Would you and Rowan come? Why? Because despite everything, you're family. And I think it's time Paige learned what family actually means. I'll talk to Rowan. She nodded and left. I watched her walk back to her house. Her shoulders slumped, her perfect posture finally broken. Rowan came up behind me. What did she want? To accept the offer. And? To invite us to Paige's wedding. He laughed. That's desperate. Or smart. She's trying to salvage what she can. You want to go? Do you? He thought about it. Maybe. Might be interesting to watch Paige try to be civil. The next morning, a signed contract appeared in our mailbox. Delilah had agreed to every term, closing in 30 days. They'd be out in 2 weeks. I texted her. Contract received, thank you. She replied immediately. Thank you for not making this harder than it needed to be. I didn't respond. Over the next week, I watched them pack up their life. The moving trucks came and went. Furniture disappeared. The perfectly manicured lawn started to look neglected. Preston's boat left the marina, towed away by a commercial transport company. Paige showed up on day 5, screaming at her parents in the driveway. I couldn't hear the words, but the body language was clear. She blamed them for losing everything, for embarrassing her, for ruining her wedding. Delilah just stood there, taking it. Preston finally yelled back, pointing at the house, at the marina, at our property. Paige turned and looked directly at our window. Even from a distance, I could see the hatred in her eyes. She's going to be a problem, Rowan said. Let her. She's calling everyone we know, telling them we sabotaged her parents. Are people believing her? Some, the ones who never liked us anyway. And the others? Are asking how we pulled it off? He smiled. And whether we're taking new investment partner. On day 12, I saw Delilah sitting alone on her dock, staring at the water. Something about the way she held herself made me walk over. Mind if I sit? I asked. She gestured to the space beside her. We sat in silence for several minutes. The lake was calm, reflecting the afternoon sun. I keep thinking about this moment 3 years ago, she said finally. We were sitting right here, and Preston was talking about the marina deal, how it would secure our legacy, how our grandchildren would inherit something meaningful. She laughed. We didn't have any money. We'd borrowed against everything we owned. But the plan was so clear in his mind. Buy the marina, develop the waterfront, retire wealthy. What happened? Your husband happened. He saw through everything. Preston thinks the investor pulled out because of the economy, because of market conditions. He has no idea Rowan was playing him the entire time. You're not going to tell him? What's the point? We're still broke. We still lost everything. She looked at me. But maybe Preston needs to believe it wasn't personal, that we weren't targeted, that his ego didn't cost us our home. Generous of you. It's survival. If he knew the truth, he'd do something stupid. Try to sue Rowan. Go to the press. Make it worse. She picked up a small stone and threw it in the water. This way we move away, start over, and maybe eventually he forgives himself. You've thought this through. I've had nothing but time to think. She stood. We're leaving tomorrow. The new apartment is in Minnesota. Preston's brother offered him a job at a regional office. It's a fraction of what he made, but it's something. And Paige is convinced we're doing this to ruin her wedding. She's barely speaking to us. I'm sorry. No, you're not. No, I agreed. I'm not. She smiled sadly. At least you're honest now. I learned that from you too. You were always honest about how you felt about me, and now you're honest about how you feel about me. Fair is fair. She walked away, then turned back. For what it's worth, I really am sorry. Not because I'm losing my house, but because I wasted 15 years judging you when I should have been getting to know you. Maybe we'll have another 15 years. In Minnesota, stranger things have happened. She left. The next morning, I watched their car pull away. 2 suitcases in the trunk. Everything else already shipped or sold. Preston didn't look back. Delilah did. Just once. Her eyes finding our window. I didn't wave. Rowan came up behind me. How do you feel? Satisfied, I said honestly. Not guilty? Should I be? Most people would be. Most people didn't spend 15 years being told they weren't good enough. He kissed my temple. The closing is next week. Then we'll own both properties. What are you going to do with their house? Haven't decided yet. Maybe tear it down, build something bigger, or keep it as a rental. He smiled. I like how you think. 3 weeks later, we closed on the property. Our lawyer handed us the keys. Just like that, the house that had represented everything we weren't good enough for was ours. We walked through it together. Empty rooms echoed. Paint colors Delilah had spent months choosing suddenly looked cheap. The kitchen she'd remodeled wasn't nearly as nice as ours. The master bedroom view was worse than our guest room. It's smaller than I remembered, Rowan said. Everything is smaller once you're inside. We stood on their dock, the one I just sat on with Delilah 3 weeks ago. You know what's funny? I said. What? We don't even need this house. We bought it just to prove we could. Revenge is expensive. Was it worth it? He thought about it. Ask me in a year. We rented the house to a young couple from Chicago. Startup founders, just like Rowan had been. They paid first and last month's rent in cash. Don't you think it's ironic? I asked him. What? We're helping another young couple while Delilah and Preston are starting over in Minnesota. That's not irony. That's karma. Paige's wedding was scheduled for October 15th. The invitation arrived in September. Formal, expensive, engraved lettering on cream cardstock. Are we going? I asked. Do you want to? Honestly, I'm curious. About what? About who she is now that she doesn't have her parents' money to hide behind. The wedding was at a country club in Connecticut. Not as nice as the venues Delilah used to post about, but nice enough. Paige wore a designer dress, probably the last one her parents could afford to buy her. Delilah looked different, thinner, older. Her hair was simpler, no longer the expensive salon style. She wore a dress from a department store, not a boutique, but she smiled when she saw us. You came, she said, genuine surprise in her voice. Of course, I said. Preston nodded at us stiffly. He still didn't know the full story. Probably never would. Paige didn't acknowledge us until the reception. Then she cornered me by the bar. I know what you did, she hissed. Congratulations on your wedding, I said. You destroyed my family. Your family destroyed itself. My parents lost everything because of Rowan. Your parents lost everything because they spent money they didn't have. That's not true, I interrupted. Ask them about their debt. Ask them about the loans. Ask them where the money for your private school came from. Where the money for those European vacations came from. She stared at me. Your parents spent decades living beyond their means, I continued, teaching you that appearances matter more than reality. And now you're angry because reality finally caught up. You're still jealous? Of what? Your struggling parents? Your clearance rack dress? I glanced at her wedding ring. Your discount diamond? Her face went red. I'm not jealous, Paige. I'm just not pretending anymore. I walked away. Rowan found me on the terrace. Rough conversation? Honest one. Good. We watched the reception through the windows, Paige dancing with her new husband, Delilah and Preston sitting at a table looking exhausted, the other guests mingling, drinking, unaware of the subtext, threading through every interaction. Think they'll be okay? I asked. Eventually, Rowan said. People are resilient. Even terrible people. Were they terrible? Or just flawed? Is there a difference? Maybe. We left before the cake cutting, drove back to the lake house in comfortable silence. The tenants were grilling on the dock of Delilah's old property. They waved. We waved back. Young couple making it work, I said. Like we did. Like we did. Inside our house, Rowan poured wine. We sat on the deck, watching the sunset. Do you feel better? He asked. Now that it's done? I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know, I said honestly. I thought I would. I thought there would be this moment of satisfaction, but it just feels like we won something we didn't really want. The house? The revenge. He nodded slowly. I felt the same way at the wedding, watching Delilah in that department store dress. It didn't feel good, but it didn't feel bad either. No? We sat in silence. You know what I realized? I said. We spent so much energy proving we belonged, proving we were good enough. And now that we've proven it, I don't care anymore about their opinion. Character development, Rowan said with a slight smile. Or just exhaustion. My phone buzzed. A text from Delilah. Thank you for coming today. It meant more to me than you know. I showed Rowan. You going to respond? He asked. I typed. It was a beautiful wedding. Paige looked happy. She replied immediately. She hates you both, you know. Me. I know. Her. But I don't. Not anymore. Me. I know that too. Her. Can I ask you something? Me. Go ahead. Her. Do you think we'll ever be friends? I stared at the question. Rowan read it over my shoulder. What are you going to say? He asked. I don't know. Be honest. I typed. I don't know. Maybe. 15 years from now, we'll be different people. Her. That's fair. Her. Take care of the house. It deserves better owners than we were. Me. We will. Her. And take care of each other. You two are the real thing. Don't waste it on people like us. I didn't respond to that. Rowan pulled me close. Well what? How does it end? The revenge? All of it. I looked at our reflection in the window. Happy, successful, together. I think, I said slowly, it ends with us realizing that the best revenge wasn't destroying them. It was building something they could never touch. Deep. I'm serious. We spent 15 years being underestimated, being dismissed, being told we weren't enough. And instead of shrinking, we grew. We built something real while they built something that looked real. And now we let it go. We keep the house because we can. We rent it out because it's good business, but we stop measuring our worth by their opinions. Very mature of us. We're getting old. Speak for yourself. I laughed. 6 months later, Delilah sent a Christmas card. A photo of her and Preston in front of a small suburban house in Minnesota. They looked tired, but okay. The card said, starting over isn't easy, but it's honest work. Thank you for the tough lessons. Delilah and Preston. I put it on the refrigerator. Rowan raised an eyebrow. Really? Why not? After everything? After everything, I agreed. Maybe that's the point. A year after the wedding, Paige sent a baby announcement. A girl named Olivia. The card was cold, formal, no personal note. I sent a gift anyway. A savings bond for the baby. Delilah texted, that was kind of you. Me, just trying to break family traditions. Her, ha, yes, please do. 2 years after buying their house, we finally decided what to do with it. Hear me out, Rowan said. I'm listening. We donate it to a nonprofit, one that helps young entrepreneurs, provides housing for startup founders who are grinding it out, the ones who can't afford rent while they're building their companies. I stared at him. That's actually perfect, right? But expensive. We can afford it, can we? He showed me the numbers, the tax write-off, the goodwill, the way it would help people exactly like we used to be. Delilah's going to hear about this, I said. I know. What do you think she'll say? I think she'll understand. We signed the paperwork in March. The house became the headquarters for the Foster Foundation for Emerging Entrepreneurs. They'd house 6 founders at a time, providing free rent for up to 2 years while they built their companies. The press coverage was significant. Local news, business journals, feel-good human interest stories. My phone rang. Delilah. I saw the news, she said. And? It's brilliant. Truly. Thank you. I mean it. Turning that house, that symbol of everything we did wrong, into something that actually helps people. She paused. Preston cried when he read about it. He did? Because he finally understood what you and Rowan actually are. What we could have been if we'd focused on substance instead of appearance. How is he? Better. Working hard. Making less money but happier. We're paying down the debt slowly. It'll take years, but we'll get there. And you? I got a job at a community college, teaching business administration. She laughed. The irony isn't lost on me, but I'm good at it. Turns out all those years of pretending to know about business actually taught me something. And Paige? Struggling, but she'll figure it out. Her husband is good for her, keeps her grounded. That's good. Listen, Delilah said. I wanted to say something. Go ahead. Thank you. For what? For showing me what strength actually looks like. For not accepting our definition of success. For building something real. Her voice cracked. For being better than we deserved. Delilah. No, let me finish. I spent so many years looking down on you, pitying you for your small apartment and your student loans and your service jobs. And the whole time, you were building something I'd never understand. A partnership. A real partnership. I didn't know what to say. Preston and I are in therapy now, she continued. Working through our issues, learning how to be real with each other. It's hard, really hard, but necessary. I'm glad. Are you? Honestly? Honestly? Yes. I don't want you to suffer. I wanted you to understand. There's a difference. I understand now. Good. We talked for a few more minutes. About nothing important. About the weather. About the lake. About normal things. When we hung up, Rowan looked at me. Evolution? Maybe. Think we'll actually be friends? I think we'll be something. Not friends exactly, but not enemies anymore either. What do you call that? Resolved. 3 years after buying their house, we attended Paige's baby shower in Minnesota at Delilah's small suburban house. It was strange, intimate, real. Paige was different, softer. Motherhood had changed her. I was awful to you, she said during a quiet moment. Yes, you were. I'm sorry. Are you? I am now. Now that I understand what you were fighting against. She looked at her parents across the room. They meant well, but they taught me all the wrong things. They're trying now. I know. It's weird seeing them like this. Dad in regular clothes, mom shopping at Target, but they seem happier. Happiness isn't expensive. No, but I thought it was for so long. Later, Delilah pulled me aside. Thank you for coming, she said. Of course. I know you didn't have to. After everything, I repeated. Seems like a lifetime ago. It was a lifetime. My old lifetime. She smiled. This is my second act. Turns out I'm better at being poor and real than I ever was at being rich and fake. You're not poor. Compared to before, we're broke. But compared to happy, we're wealthy. Very philosophical. Community college has been good for me. We laughed. On the drive back, Rowan asked, how do you feel? Peaceful, I said. Really? Really. I think we're done. Done with what? Done proving anything. Done with revenge. Done with anger. Just done. So what now? Now we just live. Build our companies. Help other people. Enjoy the lake house. That's it? That's everything. He took my hand. We drove in silence, watching the landscape roll by. 5 years after buying their house, Delilah and Preston came to visit the Foster Foundation. They wanted to see what had become of their old home. We gave them a tour. 6 young entrepreneurs living there now, working on everything from apps to sustainable products to biotech. All grinding, all hopeful, all exactly like we used to be. Preston stood in what used to be his office. I spent so many hours here, he said quietly, making deals, chasing money, leveraging everything. And now? I asked. Now I spend my hours at a desk in Minnesota, making decent money, going home at 5 p.m. to have dinner with my wife. He looked at me. It's better. I'm glad. Are you? Really? Really? Delilah found me in the kitchen. They're so young. We were that young once. Were we ever that hopeful? I was. You were too, probably. Before the keeping up appearances started. Before everything became about perception. She nodded. Can I tell you something? Sure. Losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to me. I looked at her. I mean it, she said. It forced me to figure out who I actually was. Without the house, without the parties, without the performance. And I'm not bad. I'm just different than I thought. Different how? Smaller, quieter, but more real. She smiled. I like teaching. I like helping students who are struggling. I like knowing that my worth isn't tied to my bank account. That's growth. It's exhausting. We laughed. Before they left, Preston shook Rowan's hand. I hated you for a long time. I know. But you did me a favor. You showed me what I'd become. That wasn't my intention. Doesn't matter. That was the result. He paused. Your foundation is doing good work. Real work. If you ever need anything, let me know. I will. They drove away. Rowan turned to me. That was unexpected. People change. They do. We did. We did. Now it's been 7 years since we bought the lake house next to theirs. 7 years since Delilah said we'd never be able to afford their lifestyle. We see them twice a year now, Christmas and summer. Normal family visits. Paige has 2 kids. She works part-time as a teacher. Her husband runs a small business. They're happy in a way that doesn't require performance. Delilah teaches full-time now. Preston manages a regional office. They paid off their debt last year. They're saving for retirement again, but differently this time. More carefully, more honestly. And us? We still live at the lake house. We expanded our businesses. We help other entrepreneurs through the foundation. We have a good life. But the best part isn't the success. It's not the money or the house or the business or proving anyone wrong. The best part is that we're done keeping score. We won, they lost, then they rebuilt. And now we're all just living. Last weekend, we had dinner at their house in Minnesota. Delilah made pot roast. Preston told stories about his regional office. Paige showed us photos of the kids. Remember when you first came to the lake? Delilah asked. Hard to forget. I was horrible. You were. Sorry about that. Water under the bridge. Is it really? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Yeah, I said finally. It really is. Because revenge is only sweet for a moment, but forgiveness lasts. And building a life that doesn't require anyone else's validation, that's the real victory. Not the house, not the money, not the comeuppance. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing you became exactly who you wanted to be, despite them, then without them, and finally, alongside them. Different equal done.